أصحاب السعادة حضورنا الكريم.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome you in this workshop as a part of the series of COP28, where we have received a number of workshops and interactive workshops to support the national strategic ambitions related to the weather change. On behalf of Dr. Sultan Al-Nuaimi, Director General of the SSR, I'm honored Dr. Ibtisam Al-Tunaisi, Head of the Service of the Society, to welcome Her Excellency Dr. Nawal Al-Hosani, Permanent Representative of the UAE to the IRENA, and the responsible for weather change at the Ministry of Environment and Weather Change, entitled UAE's Net Zero 2050 Strategic Initiative. Dr. Nawal, she is one of the important figures in the UAE. She is the permanent representative of the UAE to the International Renewable Energy Agency, IRENA. She is heading the efforts of the IRENA to get to know the practical initiatives held by the renewable energy, in addition to other innovative things that would guarantee the energy in the development countries and locally. Dr. Nawal Al-Hosani is contributing and promoting the work of the environment to achieve the UAE's objective as part of the strategic initiative to achieve UAE's Net Zero 2050. Dr. Nawal has a bachelor's degree in engineering in the 1992 at the Emirates University, and a doctorate at Newcastle 2002, and she has honorary doctorate 2018 at Yale University for her initiatives in the field of sustainability. And Dr. Nawal was one of the first Emiratis heading towards the summit of Kilimanjaro. Welcome you once again at the SSR throughout the meetings, the yearly meetings of the UAE. Her Excellency Mariam Mehri, the Minister of Weather Change and Environment, she announced that without the strategy of the UAE for Net Zero 2050, the emissions of the country would have reached 220 million tons on a yearly basis throughout 15 minutes. We want to know further about the initiative of the UAE in light of hosting COP28, the most important issues, the sectors playing a role, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much indeed. May the peace of God be upon you all. Almost 2 years ago, we have launched this initiative to achieve Net Zero 2050. And we have defined the 2050 that it will be the year in the UAE that it will be a maximum. We want to reach this result. Previously, since the beginning of this journey, all the groups and the entities and the institutions work together as a one group to achieve this ambition. The first step, as we've seen previously, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed has announced at the press conference in Sharm el-Sheikh about the Net Zero 2050 strategic initiative. But the most important question here lies in the fact how to achieve this by 2050. So before we answer this, as we see, we need to remember definitely what are the main points in this journey. What were our achievements and what did we achieve in this sector? 2016, the UAE was one of the first countries that would give its ambitions according to the Paris Agreement for Climate Change 2021. We've taken another step. We have decreased these emissions further by 23.5. And then as one single entity, we work together and we have raised the ceiling of the ambitions to 51% in the year 2020, 31% 2022. Once again, same year, in the second report of the contributions NDCs, we wanted to decrease the ambitions further to reach 40% by 2030, in which we have called a scenario of the regular work environment. Of course, the UAE is not committed or is not obliged to do this, but they have volunteered because we always have a very pioneering role in these sectors. Your Excellencies, as you all know, our journey towards sustainability and to face climate change did not start a year or 2 years ago. It is a journey through very long decades. One of the most important steps is to plant the seeds. The late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, who had an environmental vision, which was in the forefront. He put a great importance on environment, and he always knew what to do. There was a plant in the middle of the road, and he refused to cut it. He used to plant and participate in the planting of a lot of areas, such as the mangrove, Eastern mangrove. We wanted to reap the fruits of this legacy and to build what he planted, along with the agreement of the UN for climate change 30 years ago. 2008, we've launched the first edition of Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week. These are the highlights, one of the most important achievements. We have a number of achievements that occurred. 2009, the IRENA, we have won over Germany and Austria, a number of countries that competed and received this. In the year 2012, we've launched the biggest compound all over the world for solar energy in one single place. 2016, we have signed the Paris Agreement, and we've constituted the Emirates Council for Environment and Climate Change. It was the first country regionally to do this step. These initiatives, as we said, are enormous, and we cannot talk about it further, but these were some of the highlights. But the question here lies how we can realistically to turn into climate change by 2050. We have seen in this video, which we have seen in the beginning of the session, some of the achievements locally and worldwide in this sector. As you have seen, that you have said a very important word, without a strategy, the emissions strategy of the UAE for Net Zero 2050, the UAE, it is very important to know, even if the UAE stayed on the same track without any interference, the emissions would go straight. Why? Because we have policies and rules and regulations and initiatives, whether on the federal level or local level or the private sector, to confirm these emissions through the use of new technologies or renewable energy, which will contribute in the firmness of these emissions. But the UAE aims at decreasing these emissions, hopefully, to become zero. If we stayed with another line, same level, our emissions will not increase as a number of countries, but our main objective is to reach zero. The vision is clear. to achieve our national economic development and to remain as such, but to achieve it for weather neutrality or climate neutrality, our strategy is the main essence for further social and economic advancement in the country through these efforts aiming at reaching net zero. We have defined 6 main sectors. We're talking here about agriculture, building, transportation, and we have agreed for more than 25 programs. These programs are main. It has objectives on the short run, and it will have objectives on the long run: agriculture, garbage, building, transportation, industry, and energy. The private and public sectors alike is expected from these initiatives will play a very important role in economic development through creating employment and promoting growth and imports and exports until 3%. And together we will try to empower, and we are committed to promote the empowerment elements of this strategy. So definitely one of the most important elements of empowerment, first of all, definitely there are commitments from the country on the level, federal level and local level to fund these efforts. And we work with our partners to get a strategy, a technical strategy, modern techniques, and to implement it. And the most important thing is the development of the skills which will enable our cadre to achieve these objectives. It is very important to mention that this strategy will not be linked to the Ministry of Climate Change. Perhaps the Ministry of Climate Change have been given the responsibility perhaps to launch this strategy and to follow up its implementation, but it is not solely linked to the ministry, but it is a national strategy. And all entities have participated in its preparation. Local, federal, private and public sector, a number of meetings have occurred, and in getting suggestions through the implementation from all sectors and the sectors that we've mentioned previously, and on all levels in all Emirates. And therefore, to be able to achieve and implement this objective, there should be, most importantly, of course, coordination and working as a teamwork. And how will we able to achieve this objective? And therefore, we can say that to reach net zero, to guarantee a future, we need to work together as one single team. This is our strategy and our objective, and our communication will be there with all parts of the society to be able to reach this neutrality. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you, Your Excellency, and definitely this strategy will lead us for further sustainable economic development and will reflect the adoption of the UAE for a long-term strategy to meet the Paris Agreement. A number of challenges that refrain us from implementing this vision. So many ports mentioned that not only the UAE but we are working to achieve net zero goals. So what are the main challenges that the UAE is expecting in implementing the strategy of climate neutrality, and how do you plan on trespassing it? We in the UAE, we always see the challenges as opportunities. And this is our strategy and our methodology. So many different challenges, as you said, but these challenges, the UAE have looked at it. How can we make it as empowerment for the growth of the country? Dr. Sultan was clear when we spoke about this or these initiatives that our main objective is to lessen these emissions, but not to lessen our economic growth. And therefore, how can we take advantage of these opportunities? As you said, we need to see what are the challenges that we can develop as economy, how we can have the advantage to export these techniques. We are the only country from OPEC not only to export gas and oil, we export renewable energy. We are present in 70 countries. The UAE is an investor in the renewable energy inside and outside of the country. Our industrial sector is very developed, so definitely whether through the strategy of hydrogen or through green aluminum or green steel and green technologies, we are playing a very important role in promoting these techniques worldwide. And therefore, one of the most important challenges the world is facing in adopting the strategies of the climate neutrality is funding. But for the UAE, because we have a very clear strategy from the leadership, this is for us a challenge which is considered not there. Why? Because we have what is called the political will. Most of the countries do not have this political will. So you need to have this political will. There's a culture that this funding is important because it is long-term investment. Second, to find the policies and to find the laws and regulations that would promote this change, to promote energy. The UAE, even if we do not have any new laws, our emissions will be stable. There will not be growth. But at the moment, we are as part of the strategy of the climate change and the strategy of net zero. There are laws and regulations that will be, first of all, the weather change that will be there, and the laws have been built in coordination, cooperation with the different entities, and therefore the laws and regulations are there, and it will be promoted. And as we say, there will be a kind of development. The policies and regulations are there, and the political will is there. But next. We need to work on building capabilities, and therefore our universities today are graduating the best capabilities, and we are working on developing these kinds of capabilities. The second entity, which is very important, and the UAE was in the forefront, which is the international cooperation, how we can cooperate with our companies. Knowledge transfer. So therefore the presence of IRENA we have in the country, in the presence of international institutions such as Green Growth Institute and the centers of international research, we have it in our country. In addition to that, the UAE is a member in all these governance, and it has always a very important presence and very strong presence in these milieus, whether cooperation through scientific research or through development of technologies or through development through the exchange of expertise. This has always been there. So definitely, as we say, this energy transfer or the adoption of the energy transfer is in five main things, which are the policies, and we are in the forefront in this field, funding. And we have a huge, enormous impetus, the UAE, and three of the biggest and the cost-effective solar energy in the country. 2 weeks ago, we have launched Al Dafra, which is the biggest solar energy station in the world. And therefore, the funding is present. Why? Because we have a clear strategy and the techniques and the technologies. And to understand how to use this technology, huge investment in this thing to adopt the new techniques. But definitely this is a kind of challenge that perhaps is not, and we do not want to control it, because the techniques should be a kind of maturity that we can use. I started my life in this sector in Masdar. When we started in Masdar, most of the solutions, the techniques that we are using, we used to call it bleeding edge, not cutting edge. So it had no material revenues for 100 years. Why? Because we were the first people who adopted these techniques, because this a leading role for the UAE. These techniques now are mainstream. So we started seeing it took a lot of time. We used to say that perhaps after 10 years we can reach this maturity in this technique, for instance, but it has taken more than 10 years, perhaps 20 years. So the manner in which we're talking here about maturity, this will affect how we can adopt these techniques. So we have technology and we have the talent. The UAE, of course, we have huge strategies to attract the talents and to grow our local talents. After 2 days and 20 hours, we shall host COP28. The UAE is always in the forefront regarding the challenges that we will face and international challenges. Last month, the presidency of COP28 and IRENA and the International Alliance for Energy, a report which will draw a roadmap to increase the productive energy for renewable energy. Can you tell us about the most important recommendations about this report? The report here, one of the most important recommendation and the most important element is that this energy transition of energy differs according to the countries. So we cannot say that this is the roadmap and all countries should follow. Why? Because it's a journey and every journey has its own elements and its own issues and circumstances, whether local or regional, that would limit it and promote its trip and journey. We always say that the UAE, and this is important, we've agreed on that the journey of transformation for climate change has to be a journey, and therefore we cannot say that today they say that we're gonna switch. It's not a switch, it's a transition, and definitely this transition would be for different criteria. So IRENA says that promoting this transfer should depend on renewable energy, and therefore definitely that the presidency of COP28 and IRENA have taken an initiative to be able to increase the solutions of renewable energy, tripling renewable energy targets globally, along with increasing the efficiency of energy. So if renewable energy and efficiency of energy should work together. We cannot only promote the supply of energy. There should be a kind of efficiency. Why? Because the more you increase the supply, if you cannot try to decrease the demand, of course there will always be a challenge, and therefore definitely we can say that renewable energy will play a very important role, definitely, which is energy efficiency and increase efficiency of energy will play a very important role, because there should be a demand or to lessen the demand to be able to provide the supply. A number of countries have committed to do this pledge. The UAE is one of the first countries that have committed in this, and we expect before 2030, hopefully, we shall reach the increase of renewables 3 times. Thank you. And now we open the floor for the questions. Those who want to ask a question or an intervention, to be extremely brief. In the name of God Almighty, thank you very much indeed on this explanation. Perhaps it is the subject of the hour. Dr. Hamdan, Director of the Deputy Director General of Overseeing the Future at the Dubai Police. Perhaps we are talking about 2050. We're talking here about climate neutrality. Perhaps in the future we need something to clarify. We're talking here about 2050, and therefore an expected question, whether from the public or from the masses, to what extent we are ready to have climate neutrality 2050. Of course, this demands certain criteria, and the government have spoken about it, whether at the level of the access of innovation and change. We have the institutional energy, technological innovation. We have talents, so many different things. the presence of indicators that would measure every element that supports this to have the readiness of climate neutrality of the UAE. We need to have a very clear reading according to indicators. There's no need to gather these numbers to have a number, which is the indicators are capable of reading itself to give every element a certain result. At the end, it would be a result of the readiness of 2050 net zero. This remark, thank you. We need to clarify that this strategy will not be only a strategy on paper. It is a strategy that we will have a governance entity that will monitor its implementation. As you said, there will be criteria for every energy and every energy. We shall be talking about the KPIs, every sector as part of these programs, 25 programs that will be implemented. As we said, on the short term, it will have measurements and it will be announced, and definitely we all know that the Premiership, Secretary General of the Premiership will monitor all the implementation of these strategies. We have dashboard and the credibility of the UAE, it's important. So definitely we cannot launch something unless we are pretty sure that there will be a commitment from all sectors and its implementation. And therefore, as we all know, Dr. Pritsam, we have launched it on purpose at the meetings, yearly meetings of the government, because we have launched in front of their highnesses and their excellencies, because we want to say to the world that we have launched it as a government of the UAE, and therefore the commitment is of vital importance to monitor it, and the review will always be on a yearly basis, to be able to see if we are on track or we need to push it a little bit further. Even if it's far, we'll give you the microphone, no worries. Thank you very much indeed. Of course, in the beginning, I would like to thank Dr. Nawal for this great suggestion. There is a realization when it comes to the phenomena of climate change, and that the government is ready with all the efforts, including that it is interested in the security aspects, whether security, food security, water security, health security. So this phenomena makes us feel comfortable. Of course, there is a challenge that the UAE is facing, and that the challenge is production of the traditional energy, and therefore to transfer to clean energy, of course, it needs other entities that the country wants to preserve the level of the economic growth that it is heading to, and at the same time it wants to turn into clean energy with a privileged way, in a privileged way that would allow it to produce energy that goes hand in hand with its possibilities. Of course, here that you have mentioned the importance of research in this field. Why? Because if we choose any kind of energy, which is hydrocarbon or other energies, this demands that we need to have studies. And I think that the Ministry of Environment, there is a network of research developed by a number of researchers. Does it produce very important studies that make us sure that if we head towards hydrocarbon and other kinds of clean energy, of course, we shall succeed in that. And the production will be in the same level that we desire, and it will cover our own needs, and it will allow us to export outside. As we all know, the traditional energy could go. We want an energy to remain in the future, for the generations of the future. Thank you, Doctor. As you have said, that it is very important that we need to stress on the scientific research. You have mentioned Masdar, and one of the examples, as they say, the vision, long-term vision of our leadership. When we've created Masdar, the first thing and the first building that was built, it was for technological sciences. It focused on being the first university that focuses on postgrad research in the field of renewable energy and sustainability. When it has become mature, at the same time there was a maturity for the Petrol Institute and Khalifa University for Sciences. They have joined together. It has become Khalifa University for Sciences and Technology. They focus on all kinds of energy security and water security. So it is focusing on these energy, a number of research. I'm discussing it, the strategy of the UAE. There is a kind of flexibility when we have headed towards artificial intelligence. This building, which has the most advanced centers for research in Masdar, this university has turned into Mohammed bin Zayed University for Artificial Intelligence. Why? Because we have this maturity, whether academically speaking or the students. Now we have a kind of maturity. We need to incubate the new science, and the new science at the moment is promoting the existing science. So these initiatives are very important. Why? Because the advancement in technology will play a very important role to be able to achieve net zero. Why? Because if there is no advancement in technology, such as the carbon, we need it to be commercially viable. There will be a delay in implementing our strategy. Therefore, the applied research is of vital importance. We have networks that would focus on academic research and applied research. We have international partnerships regarding the techniques. So this is there. But as you have said a very important word, because our economy is based on traditional energy. But we have a leadership that tells you when I export the last barrel of the oil, it will be a festive day. This is translated into a roadmap how to reach the state. So this is a strategic part, a part of the strategy of Net Zero 2050, a part of the roadmap to reach this day. But we need to remember that the UAE as a producer and exporter, they have a responsibility of international security. So the responsibility of international security is very important. So we will always promote our oil capabilities because we have to have contributions in the security of energy all over the world. So every country will have its own transition. A map that is for it, but worldwide we need to be ready a certain day. So they always ask me the international criteria. The UAE is benefiting from the export of oil. You never go to net zero. Why? Because economically you are benefiting from the oil sector. When will you stop exporting? So my answer, if you stop your needs, when you stop your need, I will stop exporting. When demand lessens, we shall lessen our exports, and therefore there should be this balance, definitely. So the word and the criticism. So there is a global energy need, definitely. So the readiness that we're talking about, and definitely on the local side and the regional side, but worldwide, there should be this readiness, and therefore the meetings similar to COP would clarify where is this roadmap and how we can reach together. It is very important that our efforts say that just transition, which is just, that never leaves anyone as we have said in the presentation outside, definitely no one is left behind. This is important. So till now, we have countries that have zero access. And we can say those who have zero access, they need to leapfrog. So they shouldn't have a transition. They need to leapfrog. It doesn't work. Last question from Dr. Jamal. Jamal Sawahi, Khalifa University. Thank you very much indeed. I have a question. The first question, there are different policies regarding this subject, but we can say the first question follows direct policies, such as the carbon tax on the companies to support this renewable energy and to turn into this field. And the second policy are policies that would incite them to make this transformation better. So regarding the UAE, what is the policy followed? This is the first question. The second question, as you have said, so sustainability is linked with the economic performance. And regarding renewable energy, if we want a sustainable solution, we need a master plan. So most of the production of energy from coal, for instance, burning coal. What is the situation when it comes to the feasibility study worldwide? And can we ask of development countries such as in Africa that it turn into renewable energy despite they have no economic studies and feasibility studies? We shall start from the beginning and we go back to the beginning. Most of the challenges of turning into renewable energy are challenges regarding the infrastructure. So if you have no grid to begin with, you will always depend on sort of manner. Therefore, the development is vast. Most of the challenges in countries such as not only development countries, you have in America, for instance, so many different plants. They couldn't do it because the grid cannot receive it. And therefore, to invest in infrastructure as network of energy is very important. These are part of the initiatives. And the report spoken about by Dr. Ibtisam is between the presidency and the IRENA. That would ascertain the subject that we need to have an investment in the infrastructure that has to have something to do with the grids. So definitely, as for the feasibility studies for renewable energy differs according to the difference of techniques and the choices of the countries. So therefore, those who have wind and have a grid close to the places where this wind grid can be built, it's a win-win situation. It's compatible and business as usual for them. Wind, similar to Britain, and is cheaper than traditional energy. We in the UAE, we have compatible solar energy stations, commercially viable, very attractive. Our investments in Europe, its revenue generation, it gives to our national companies huge gains, such as Masdar, most of the companies working all over the world. So wind and solar energy. Geothermal in Iceland is free. So techniques according to the location and the infrastructure they have. So this is for the feasibility study. And the question it was the first question for the policies. The UAE has, our leadership has a kind of wisdom. So definitely you see that all our policies start with consultations, and that we have, since the change starts from up. And when let me tell you a story. The first house that has solar the palace of Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed. The first place we have tried the first place that they put in his own personal house. So definitely it is not the house. Why? They want to be a role model, and they are a role model, and therefore there's this adoption of these techniques and these practices. There is a kind of everyone wants to adopt it because there is kind of awareness, huge awareness, and the policy of carbon on carbon tax. It's a global thing. It's not a UAE thing, and our companies, similar to aluminium companies and steel companies, to be compatible, and they will be able to export. They need to reduce their carbon emissions. So definitely, because our companies want to compete worldwide. So for them, these are very important criteria because they need to sell. So Europe, this tax is in Europe, is in America, is in a lot of places. So you become, as you say, you have the access for these markets, and definitely you need to play with the global rules. But definitely at the moment, soon we will launch what we say the carbon registry, and therefore there will be a culture of calculating the carbon in our industrial sector. As a country, we can contribute in diminishing carbon worldwide because they can use it, which is our carbon credit, to offset their emissions. Dr. Nawal, we want to spend another hour with you. We know that you are very linked with Expo at the end of this session, which has a strategic dimension. On behalf of Dr. Sultan al-Naimi, I would like to reiterate our thanks and gratitude for your valuable time to be with us here, and all the thanks and gratitude for your presence here amongst us. And we wish you to, we hope to meet with you on another event tomorrow and at Expo as well for COP28.